I am so freaking happy about 1.5. Easiest skip of my life. And hey, before you flame me and cuss me out, hear me out, okay? Because I'm excited. These characters, they both look freaking awesome, but the reality is that 1.4 is going to rob me blind. We've got Topaz, we've got Jingliu, oh my god, double waifu, peak designs. I can't wait to get pegged. Ooh! But my dudes, drip marketing just dropped for the next patch, and we've got Huohuo, aka Chinese Sucrose, as well as Argenti, aka Deluxe older brother. And so today, let's talk about these two new characters because again, whilst I would skip them, and that is purely personal aesthetic reasons, I think that they are both extremely interesting for different reasons. Now disclaimer, I don't follow leaks, and even if I did, it doesn't matter because we only pull for beautiful women here, okay? I'm not saying that Huohuo is not beautiful, you get my point. Like even if Jingliu couldn't do any damage and instead only attacked my own team, I'd still be pulling for her. Alright, enough degeneracy, let's talk about what makes them so interesting to me. Huohuo. We've got a few different pieces of information here, but the most interesting thing I see is due to having a helio bus named Tail sealed in her tail, it's kind of, I don't know, lack of creativity. But then again, my cat's named Kitty. She became a cursed one who attracts inhuman beings. Now, this is really interesting because it looks like this helio bus tail thing, like this thing over here, is actually going to be sentient because there are two voice actors, Courtney Lin and Adam Michael Gold. And what this could mean is kind of something like a dual character, maybe like a Topaz and Numby, potentially like a dual personality kind of design. And those are always really interesting. On the other hand, in terms of her kit, and I know that this might be a stretch, but like what if her tail was kind of like the Lightning Lord and it got its own kind of position in the queue? It has its own separate turn, but this time, because she's abundance, the tail heals you or something. I don't know. Just a crackpot theory. Maybe it actually doesn't do anything. But okay, let's get a little more serious and let's talk about her path and element. Wind, abundance, so wind healer. And the first thing that I can say is that 5-star limited, there is no way that HoYoverse makes her a shitty character, so she can probably solo sustain. However, there is something that's on my mind, and it's more about the abundance ultimate skill meta generally. Something that I have loved about our current solo sustainers, so like your Luocha as well as your Fuxian, their ultimates and their break effects are so freaking nice. The imprisonment that we get from Imaginary as well as the entanglement from Fuxian. And so because they both have the damaging ultimates, we actually get to reap these effects quite frequently. Now, as with all characters, Huohuo could either do big break and inflict wind shear because she's wind, or she could actually do like a non-breaking, non-damaging ult, kind of like your Bronya or your Jabhad. And I gotta say, I do hope it's going to be the latter, kind of like some kind of buff or something, or maybe a big heal with buffs. I do hope that it's going to be kind of like a non-damaging ult. And my guys, don't get me wrong, Wind Shear is great. There is definitely a use case for it, especially because it opens up opportunity with synergies for like your dot characters, like your Kafka. And Imprisonment as well as Entanglement don't. And these break dots are really freaking strong. But in terms of playstyle, I personally like crippling my enemies, like from the CC effects from these two. And so the other thing about Huohuo, or maybe not Huohuo herself, but in terms of like the solo sustainer and some support meta, these days, as long as it's not like the Silver Wolf team, I feel like the element actually doesn't matter too much. Like I would still take the Bronya, I would still take the Tingyun, even if the enemy was not weak to it. So in terms of elemental coverage for an abundance character, it's kind of okay. All right, and so that's a lot about the wind. I want to talk a little bit more about the abundance. And right now, for abundance, we have these 4 characters. Now, these are pretty much purely defensive healers. And with the release of Fuxian and her freaking crit buff on a preservation unit, I'm excited to see what exactly Huohuo is going to get. Is she going to give us crit rate? Is she going to give us crit damage, attack, maybe even freaking speed or energy or something nuts? At this point, when I look at the roster, it feels about the right time to add an offensive abundance support. So no, I'm probably not going to be rolling for Huohuo. The conditions are not met, but I'm definitely excited to see what exactly she is going to bring to the table. And so let's talk about Argenti. I hope I pronounced that right. And I think that this guy is going to be even more interesting. Now, first of all, I gotta say, Knight armor. Oh my god, I love heavy armor so much. If this bad boy was instead a freaking waifu, my wallet found dead in a ditch. Awesome design, I'm a massive fan. This is probably my favorite aesthetic, and yeah, again, thank god it's not a waifu. I'm still recovering from Jingliu. Alright, let's talk kit, physical, erudition. Let's talk about the erudition part first. As most of us know, it is a tough place to be, right? And honestly, in my opinion, if they just raised the ratios, like the damage ratios for like your Himeko and your Jingyuan, I don't think that this path would have such a bad reputation. Like look at Qingque. She dishes out damage like crazy. She is probably one of the only 4 stars to actually be sitting in S rank, the damage dealers. Like yeah, look at this tier list. Qingque, E6, up here on S. We got your Jingyuan over here. Where is my Himeko? Down here? But also, again, let me be clear. I don't think that Jingyuan is bad. It's just that if his ratios were a little bit higher, I don't think that anyone would disrespect him. His kit is actually fine. It's a lot of fun. Even Himeko's is as well. But what Argenti will show us is whether he is the outlier or if the class erudition is still going to be pain. Personally, I would bet that he is probably going to be right here with Blade, Kafka, and Zilla. Just historically speaking, in terms of the DPSs, Jingyuan was kind of the outlier. On the other hand, Old Mate is physical. Now, there is a chance that he is going to inflict bleed like your Himeko and your Hook with the burn, as well as your Serval who inflicts shock. However, just like how we wouldn't use them in a Kafka team, I don't think that this is going to be one of our dot juices, even if he does inflict bleed. But our boy is going to be the first limited physical DPS, and that's freaking awesome. I just really love how StarRail is kind of like filling out the roster, not doubling up on any of them. Like we're getting the Topaz and Numbi, Hunt, Fire. There have not been really any double ups so far, which is fantastic. However, I do have one concern, and it's that I'm not ready to give up Clara yet. Out of all of the standard 5-star characters, I would say that Clara is probably like one of my top picks. And the reason is because she's just been so solid in the same way that Blade is solid, right? Great tankability, really SP efficient, and does a pretty reasonable amount of damage. But my guys, hear me out. Quasi mono physical. Clara, Silver Wolf, Lynx, Argenti, oh my lord. I'm gonna say this now, I don't think it's gonna be the best comp in the world, but I think it's going to be super fun to play. And so yeah, these characters, they're super exciting. I think that they'll be great because HoYoverse wants us to pay up. They're not going to make crappy characters. But you know what feels awesome? I'm at a stage in the game, and I think a lot of you are here too, where I feel like I don't need to roll for anyone in particular. I don't have to roll for this wind abundance. I don't have to roll for this physical DPS. And it just feels so freaking good, you know? And so my guys, let me know how you guys are feeling about these characters. I know that there is no kit yet, but for example, the moment I laid my eyes on Silver Wolf as well as Jingliu, I knew I wanted them. And I know that there are a lot of you Sucrose fans out there, so I'm keen to see if y'all are among them. Regardless, this is the end of the video, so thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye.